You have found Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. We are locally underwritten by the Bank of Sun Prairie. My name is James Kademan, entrepreneur, author, speaker, and helpful coach to small business owners across the country. And today we're welcoming / preparing to learn from Marla Albertie, the founder of Truth Speaks Coaching, which I'm excited to talk about Marla today because she delves into the psychology, which is, let's just face it, it's just how our brain works. So Marla, how are you doing today?
Oh my gosh, I am excited, super excited to be here. And like you said, dive right in. And it's funny you mentioned the Truth Speaks Coaching because that's the website, www.truthspeakscoaching.com.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But the title of the business is Truth Speaks Group because I changed it because I do so many things.
Oh, nice. All right, very cool. So let's just start with the name. Truth Speaks. I can infer what it means, but why don't you just elaborate on that for us?
Oh my gosh, that it's funny you asked that question. I have a funny story about that. So I had always wanted to be an entrepreneur from a little kid growing up. But I was in a process when I was married last. I was thinking of a speaking company for my husband and his friend. So I said, you know what? Let's name it. You guys are going to be speaking about the truth. Let's name it Truth Speaks Speaking, Truth Speaks Consulting Company or something like that. And then he's like, no, I don't like it. I said, well, I like it. I'm going to take it and I'm just going to hold it to the side. And then fast forward, I took the name and voila, here we are, Truth Speaks Coaching, which moved over to Truth Speaks Group. And I say truth because that's what I embody. I try to be as authentic as possible. I try to, what you see is what you get. This is me. And so that's where it is. Truth speaks. I'm speaking the truth. Whether you agree or not, right? But as a coach, we're here to dig deep, right? Help you dig and understand and ask you the strategic questions. So that's where it comes from.
All right, very cool. Now, how long have you had this business?
10 years old. My business.
Holy cow! Congratulations! A decade.
10 years,
That's
10 years old. April 1st this year. So it's been a ride. It has been a ride.
Very cool. So tell me, when you first started this, was the idea that it was coaching, then it just expanded out?
Yes. So let me tell you. So I hadn't thought about it. So let me give a little bit of context to that. So when I was getting my associate's degree back in the day, I have my associates in financial planning. So as a part of that, I've always worked a 9 to 5. So part of that, I was working for the wonderful company of Chase. Well, back then, if you guys remember, Chase had a division, a mortgage division, and that was Washington Mutual. So if you remember, the biggest seizure in United States history was the Washington Mutual seizure from Chase. Well, back then I happened to have, this is why leadership is so awesome. I had a great leader back then. So me finishing my associate's degree, I had to do an internship in HR. So my leader at that time allowed me to do my internship in HR recruiting. This is when recruiting was on site and through Washington Mutual. So I learned a lot about resumes and understanding job postings and tasks. And I'm like, wow, this is really good. Well, friends and family and coworkers always came to me for advice about career. So I said, okay, well, let me start doing these resumes. So I started doing them for free. Fast forward, got my associate's degree, got my bachelor's degree in supervision and management, got my master's degree in adult education, move forward, currently in school for my PhD. So I said, you know what? I need to start charging for these resumes because I'm doing them for free. And those folks out there who do resumes know that they are tedious. Okay. So I started doing them and I started charging for them. So that's how it started off. Then I started learning about this coaching thing, this buzz. And so I said, okay, I want to get certified. Now, as you and I both know, James, that coaching is not a regulated field, meaning you can go to burgerking.com, shout out to Burger King, and get a certification in cooking burgers, right? It is what it is, right? You have some coaches out there who coach with no certification and making millions, and nothing against that. But me, being the researcher that I am, I didn't want to solely coach folks based off of my experience. I wanted to understand the science and psychology behind coaching. What is it? What does it do? How do we dig deep? And I'm so glad I did that. I went to World Coach Institute, who's also affiliated with ICF. And ICF, International Coaching Federation, is the most recognized, but they do not own the coaching regulation. No one does. but they're the most recognized. So I'm my who I went through World Coach Institute is associated with them, and so that's what I did. I went through and I got my certification for life coaching, executive coaching, gold coaching, career coaching, and from there I just continue to join other programs and just continue to learn. So I've written, I've authored, I've done a whole bunch of stuff from there.
All right, very cool. Now tell me how that evolved into the group portion that you mentioned.
Oh yeah, so because I was only doing those resumes, so once I got the certification, I grew, and that became coaching. So I kept doing resumes. Now I don't. I stopped doing resumes, but at that time I kept doing resumes. Then I added the coaching. Then companies wanted me to come in and teach their leaders, so I started doing consulting. So then group coaching came into place. So that's where the group piece came from. Then I had to add on. Okay, I'm only me. It's just me. So I had to add on a blog. I had to add on different areas. So that's why it's called a multimedia coaching and training company, because I provide work-life harmony and integration solutions for the 9-to-5 working woman. So I'm having you to integrate and harmonize. We don't believe in work-life balance. It does not exist. So that's where the group piece came from, because I'm offering more than just resume, more than just coaching.
Got it. Very cool. So do you tell me about your workforce? Do you have other employees with you, or
it's just me? I do have, you know how you have your family involved, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
I do have family members that help me and volunteer from time to time, but as employee wise, it's just me.
All right. Nothing wrong with that. So tell me your target. I would say the avatar, the person that you're after. You mentioned professional woman. So are these
the
entrepreneurs?
9 to 5. Oh, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, are they entrepreneurs? Are they people that work for someone else in leadership role?
Yeah, so mostly the latter. I've had some of those women have had the side hustle job on the side, right? But it's mainly the latter, that 9-to-5 working woman. She's about 33 to 55. She is, maybe a lot of them live in an urban multi metro city, has 1 to 2 kids. Most of those kids are adults, and they're in the high 5-figure, high 5-figure, low 6-figure range. So they're either directors above, some of them are management, some of them supervisory level, C-suite positions. So it kind of goes in that range. Now,
all right,
obviously that's the niche, right? That's the avatar, but that doesn't mean I haven't coached men. I've coached plenty of men, right? So, but you have to have that avatar. You have to have that one group that you speak to. So I'm actually expanding out into different areas now, but that is that avatar for me.
All right. And tell me, when you first started your business a decade ago,
yeah,
what has changed over the course of the 10 years that you didn't necessarily expect?
Oh gosh. Well, let's start with most recent change, COVID, doing a lot. A lot of my coaching was face-to-face. People would have me come meet them, right? So that completely went away. And so I am 100% virtual. I don't know the last time I met a client in person. Couldn't tell you.
All right.
When I started, I would, a lot of my clients were local, and we would meet at Panera and we would do coaching sessions. I didn't like it, but that's what they want. Follow what the client wanted, or at the library, so that definitely changed. Also too, pricing has changed because I have educated myself, right? I have continued to grow and develop. So the pricing, I went from per hour to package now. I no longer charge per hour. I charge per package. So there's 3 packages out there. So that's what I charge for that. That definitely changed. Also, one thing I always tell with coaches is you can't coach one person the same way. You need to have your own coaching philosophy. So I've had to build and develop my own. And mine is SEUQ, strategic, empathetic, unscripted questioning. And what that means is I'm strategic in what I'm doing and talking to you. I'm confident in who I am. And so I'm confident in the question I'm asking you. Empathetic. Like I said, 95% of my clients, I've walked in their shoes. I'm walking in their shoes. I'm not going to ever claim I'm perfect. Unscripted is some coaches do use a script. Nothing wrong with scripts. I've read scripts, but I am that organic one. I like to have the conversation because at the end of the day, it's you that we're trying to transform, right? And in the midst of you transforming, I get transformed too. But it's mainly it's a relationship. It's a partnership. I'm not here to boss you around, right? It's a partnership. So, and that is again about that changing that mindset. So that's what the unscripted, and obviously the Q is the questions. So I had to develop my philosophy, develop my, and I'm constantly changing, constantly evolving, thinking of different, because that's what the entrepreneurs, that's what we do, right? So constantly trying to think of different ways to morph that.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Now you had brought up a few points to me. I
Yeah,
want to talk about a few of them because a couple of them just attracted my eye.
sure.
A lot of them have to do with employees.
Yeah.
You mentioned the quiet quitting and the great resignation.
Mm.
So let's jump headfirst into that.
Yeah, so let's talk about the quiet quitting. So when I saw this term first come out, I'm like, oh, they have a term for it, which is something that's been around for years. People have been quiet quitting for a long, long time. I guess we decided to give it a term, give it a name, which is fine. What I have discovered just in my role as in leadership roles, that I've had multiple leadership roles with multiple Fortune 500 companies. I've discovered that if you don't, as a leader, if the leader does not invest in themselves, and take the time to invest in their team will quit emotionally. That's what quiet quitting is. I'm just a body. I'm just a shell here. So I'm here to just work this 9 to 5 and leave. I'm not going to do any extra activity. I'm not going to join your talking group. I'm not going to join your webinar afterwards. I'm not going to join your wine and dine coffee, Zoom chat afterwards. I'm here to do the 9 to 5. And you can't get mad at them. But honestly, as a leader, do you want that type of do you want that? You want that employee that's going to be engaged.
Yeah. This is the thing that when I remember looking up the term quiet quitting.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is quiet quitting?
Mm-hmm.
And the broad definition that I more or less came up with on the internet,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't know if this is universal or not,
Mm-hmm.
but it's essentially people do their job and they go home.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the job.
Yeah.
And the part that attracted me was like, oh, they do their job.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I care about.
Yeah.
Because all I was thinking, I've had employees that didn't do their job, and you could argue that they were quiet quitting, but it was more like I was quiet firing them.
Right.
I'm just helping them quit.
Yeah.
For the ones that just do your job and go home, I'm like, that sounds like a perfect employee.
Right.
So my first thought was quiet quitting didn't sound necessarily like a bad thing because they're doing their job.
I think the negative connotation behind that is, yeah, you want the employee to come to do their job, but you want them mentally engaged. And that is the quiet quitting piece. You want them to do their job and they could be great at what they're doing, but you don't want them to be a shell or a robot. That's the quiet quitting.
Right.
That's
exactly.
the quiet
What I learned, I guess, is from the quiet quitting portion, or what I believe to be true, is that they didn't have drive to advance or to improve or to go above and beyond in any way, shape, or form.
In anything, in nothing.
So if someone says, hey, I got to take my kid to the doctor, can you cover the shift? No.
Nope. They're not going to.
So that's where I'm like, oh, well, I don't consider that necessarily doing your job. I get if you can't do it because you got other stuff going on. But if you just want to stay in your little bubble and you want to treat the job like a number, but then you're going to get upset at the boss treating you like a number.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can't have it both ways.
And that's it. And quiet quitting really has a lot to do with teamwork. You're just basically, you're a part of the team, but you're not mentally a part of the team. And that's what quiet quitting is. You're just going to do what you have to do to get a paycheck. You're going to do what you have to do to not get written up. You're going to do what you have to do on that annual or quarterly or monthly check-in. That a lot of people have the scores, right? So that score of 1 to 5, you're not going to ever shoot for the 5. You're just going to get the 3. I'm going to always get a 3, and that's okay with me. And again, we have to, I go back to the leadership. What are the leaders doing to install for their teams to not be a 3, to install for their teams to not be a 4? Because what they do reflects on the leader, right? Everything rises and falls on leadership. So if you have a team that's quiet quitting, I'm going to look at you, leader. What are you doing?
Buck stops here.
How are you instilling things? No, go ahead.
No, I understand. I mean, I always joke when I have a bad employee or something like that. I'm like, who's the jerk that hired this person? It's me, is what it comes down to. So, I mean, for whatever reason, in the end, it's always the person at the top. The buck stops there.
Yep, always. And we're not trying to put the whole responsibility on the leader, because the employees, they're adults, they're big people. But
we like to think so.
Are you treating them that way? They're only, and if you do the research, statistics are out there. Tons and tons and tons of studies have been done. Employees are going to mock and model what they see. Point blank. They're like little, like if you watch an ant build their ant bed, they're in a row. That's military style. That's what they're going to do. They're going to do what they're going to do. They're going to model what they're given. point blank. It's not rocket science. And that's
Sure.
the book title I'm working on, so it's not rocket science. You have to actually, you, the leader, have to actually care about the team in order for your team to actually care about what they're doing. You can hire the passionate person all day long, hire them all day long, but if you just throw them out there and don't stop to say good morning, the simple stuff, that person's going to quiet quit a lot sooner than you think.
All right. So tell me, let's go dive into that a little deeper thing, because the care thing, you mentioned the word empathy.
Mhm.
I personally am not an empathetic person. I can't. It's very challenging.
Yeah.
Even with my wife, it's just one of those
Yeah.
things that I have a very, very, very hard time
Yeah.
even pretending to care about stuff. Because as you're going Mach 12, right? With your business, family, kids, stuff, and things. Everybody's trying to throw their baggage and problems at you. And I feel like you're playing whack-a-mole all day. And then someone's like, how come you didn't show interest or care into this thing?
Yeah.
And I told one of my employees that she was calling in a lot. And she's like, how come you don't ask more detail about why I'm calling out? And I said, you are one mouth. I have to feed 12 other mouths.
Yeah.
So you're one mouth to me. It doesn't matter why you're not here. I have to make sure that the other get fed.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter if you're leaving because you're climbing Mount Everest, having a kid, or because you got hit by a bus.
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to have the time to care, but I don't, because I got to keep the truck flowing, or the water flowing, I should say, the truck moving.
Yeah.
So that I have a job for these other people that I promised that they'd have a job.
Yeah.
So it's not that I don't care about the one, it's that I care more about the rest that show up than I do about the one.
Right. Oh my gosh. So I can dig into that so deep. So
all right, please, let's go.
And I know we're not going to be on here for 15 hours. So let's talk about that, James. So I totally get it, because I use myself as a prime example, leader. Let's say I have 6, 7 people on my team. Each one of those people, you're going to have to manage them differently. So that one person you're talking to, you can't manage her, him, they the same way you do the other 11. So that one, you may have to give them a little bit more special attention, because that you'll be surprised that little bit more special attention, that one question you ask her, what's going on, that could change her mood for the whole entire day. And she could be the most productive person on the planet. Just because you showed 2% that you cared. Right? That's all that she wants. Now, Susie on your team may not care about all that. Susie just wants you to come in, do their work, ask me, check in every now and then. That's fine. But Sally, who you just spoke with, Sally needs a little bit more. You're gonna always on your team. This is every leader. I don't care who you are, leaders. You're gonna always have folks on your team who need that extra care, the extra rubbing on the back. I don't care where you go. You're going to always have those. You're going to always have those ones you're going to have to fight with a little bit, that just don't, the nonchalant ones. You're going to have the ones that, who know it all, who know more than you.
Yeah, just ask them, right?
You're going to have those. So you're going to, but guess what you have to do? You have to now coach to each one of those personalities, because that's the part of being a leader. So it is your responsibility to not baby her. No, I'm not saying that, but you do need to ask her the question. You do need to be surprised as to what that small thing. Now, I'm not saying continue to ask her, but you do need to know why she's missing. Now, HR standards, you can't get into detail. You can't,
right?
But if she's asked, she's like, well, you need to throw the question, play coach on her and say, Sally, okay, I'm glad you asked me that question. What has been going on? Talk to me. The minute you show her a little bit of care, she's going to be like, oh, wow, my manager cares about me.
All right.
She thinks
so.
She
I totally understand that, and I agree with you. The challenge is, deep down inside, I don't care. So I have a very hard time faking the care.
Right. Oh my gosh.
So someone's going to tell you, like, I had one woman, her cat was sick, and she wanted me to ask about her cat. I don't care about the cat. I really don't. Cat has nothing to do with my business, has nothing to do with my employees. I just don't care. And I had such a hard time, like, tell me about your cat.
Right.
So difficult.
Yeah.
So I have a heart, there's a inauthenticity, I think, to a point that I have a hard time getting over. Like, I have to pretend that I care about this stupid cat. And I'm just,
this tickles me.
Really? Yeah. It's just one of those things where I'm like, how do they not see through this, me not caring? Because
Oh my God.
I don't believe anyone would really care about your cat, but maybe
Right.
somebody
Yeah.
does.
Yeah. We don't care about the cat. But at the same, here's the thing. I thrive off of being authentic in who I am.
All right.
Right. And because you're right, I love pets. I don't have a pet, but I thrive off of watching the pets on TikTok, and I love them, right? But at the end of the day, we have a job to get done. So I totally get that. So it's not about being fake, James. I maybe we need to rephrase that, rephrase our mind, because you're right. Deep down inside, I don't care about my employees' pets. I mean, deep down inside, but I do care about the employee, and I care about what they care about, because what they care about affects their production.
Fair, totally fair.
So if I don't have some type of care, and guess what? That takes practice. That takes, what that is emotional intelligence, right? The first component of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. So you are very self-aware, James. So what we now need to do is work on that social side of it. And work on the relationship side of the 4 facets, right? And say, okay, you know what? I want them to perform. I want them to do a job. So you know what? It won't hurt me to ask about this cat.
Right.
Won't hurt me. I'm not saying I gotta I'm not saying for you to go to Walmart and get a cat card. Shout out to Walmart, right? But you do need to care just a smidgen, to say, you know what? Because that one thing, you'll be so surprised. I'm telling you, some companies have this figured out. It's not rocket science. Some companies don't, but a lot of companies have this figured out. Well, some do. You know what? If I just show that little bit of concern, because people want, especially the Gen Zs and the millennials, especially, you have to understand these generations. And let me tell you something. If you don't care about their plant that they need to water at 3:00, they'll just quit and go to the company that does care about their plant. They need to water at 3:00.
Oh yeah.
And they're the smartest one on the team. And you want that expertise on your team. Oh, trust me, you want it. But you don't, you know what? I got to go walk Fluffy. Fluffy has used the bathroom at 2 p.m. And you won't allow them to go take the break at 2:15, at 2:00 or 2:50 or whatever. They're just going to leave because they don't care. Because all they want to know is that you care about their pet, they care about your plant. So that is a generation. These are the peak folks that's going to be running the country. So we have to adjust our mindsets to what's going on currently right now. And unfortunately, that cat is a perfect example. That cat is what is going on right now. So I'm not saying I'd ask about the cat every day, but I do challenge you, James, to say, you know what? This person, and I don't know how great this person is as a worker, whatever, but trust me, this is why I coach the whole person. Trust me. This is why I don't say work-life balance. That person has to harmonize. So the same Susie that came to work that has a hurt feelings about her cat is the same Susie that's going to be your production person. They're not two separate people.
Yeah, you raise an interesting point, because the people, very broadly speaking, that I've had the call outs and the why don't you ask about my cat and all this kind of stuff, I would not consider them the rock star employees.
Yeah.
So it's one of those, that's why I go back to the quiet firing. It's like, I don't even want to take the time to care, because if you went away, I can find another mediocre employee, no problem. I can't find a great employee easily. Right. But I can find mediocre all day long. Right. All day long. Right. You put out an ad on Indeed, I can have 300 applicants in less than 3 days.
Of course.
And the great majority of them are going to be just as bad as you.
And here's the thing. Do you want mediocre? What do you want?
No. Do not want mediocre. But you raise an interesting point, right? Could I be treating or saying things to this employee to give them the nudge to actually be productive, valuable employee that I want to keep? Yeah. Maybe. Probably. Yeah. And I'm not saying for you to, force them to do their job, right? Because they got hired for a reason. They're adults. So treat them as such. But what are you, because I can only talk to you, right? What are you as the leader imparting in them? You can only take the person to the water, the horse to the water. It's up to them to drink it. So if you're imparting, if you can honestly say you're doing 100% of your imparting in this employee, and if they still don't deliver, then you can coach them out, right? But you have to be 100% honest with yourself and say, as a leader, am I doing what I have to do? Am I doing, and then ask their opinion. I would ask my team all the time, what's missing, guys? What do you need me to do? What do you need? And they'll be like, oh, that's a great question.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you need me to do? Because I have to, because how you perform is a reflection of me. And trust me,
Right.
Marla needs to look good. Okay. So what do I need to do? And they're like, Marla, you're doing great. I don't need it. So if they say that, I still push them. I say, well, do I need to write the email better? I'm always constantly, because we're inside the picture. We don't see the frame.
Right.
Other people see the frame. So I had to ask my clients, which is my team and peers who work with me and colleagues who work with me, Marla, so I'll give you one of my flaws, one of my many flaws. I talk fast. I'm hyper and I talk fast.
Oh, I'm right there. It's awesome. We get stuff done.
Right? I'm hyper and I talk fast. So I have to constantly be self-aware of slowing down. I talk with my hands. Some people get offended by that. So I have to not saying not being who I am, but I have to constantly think about that. Okay, if this helps that person, some people have told me I'm too much for them. Well, that's their problem, not mine. But I respect that. And I respect what they're saying. So can I adjust for that moment? Sure.
Who wants a coach that's too little?
Right. I mean, I can adjust for that moment.
Sure.
It's fine. I'm not going to lose any sleep at night.
No.
But again, it's about knowing how to have the intelligence to work the crowd. And that crowd also includes your people above you and your people beneath you, as well as yourself. So I challenge you, James, to ask yourself, am I doing the 100% of things I need to do to make sure this employee is successful? If you can honestly say yes, then there's the employee. They're just lazy.
I don't know that I could ever say yes to that.
Right,
not say,
right.
so the idea is that there's
Give
always
yourself
room for
95%.
improvement. Right now, I have a lot of room.
Yeah.
Ton of room. More than I should.
Give yourself grace and say maybe 95%. No, nobody's ever perfect. We never shoot for perfection. Perfection is oblivious.
Fair. Totally fair. Let's talk about well-being and avoiding burnout. Because that's a thing, or can be a thing for anyone. And a lot of it, I believe, is a mindset versus a workload.
It is. So research studies, you go out there and read it. Burnout comes from the pressure of having to continuously do something because you have an obligation. Right? So like you just said, that comes from all fields. It's very heavy in healthcare. It's very heavy in service type roles, right? Where you got to meet goals like sales, retail, fast food, restaurant, stuff like that, where you got to meet goals. But at no point, I don't care what industry you're in, at no point should a job turn into, I got to have thick skin to get through this. I gotta do this. Or if I don't, there should not be a threatening component. And that's where the burnout piece comes from. Because if I think that I have to overperform and do this and do that just to get recognized, to get seen, and this is a huge, huge problem in the African-American woman female reigns. There is a philosophy out there called the Superwoman Schema, written by an African-American woman. And African-American women, we are the highest educated group of individuals, but yet we're fourth on the totem pole. And what I mean by fourth is you have the Caucasian male, you have the Black male, you have the white female, then you have African-Americans and everybody else, Asians, everybody else, right? So with us being at the bottom, yet we're the most intelligent or the most smartest, we have to constantly come to work and not only prove who we are, but prove how smart we are. We got to force ourselves to do this. We got to create, not only ask for the seat at the table, create the table sometimes, get people to talk to us at the table, recognize us at the table. That leads to burnout. That's just one example. Then when you're a physician and you're in a higher role, right, or a C-suite role, that adds even more pressure to us. I'm not only focusing on the African-American, I'm kind of giving an example of it, right? So that's where that burnout comes from. So how do we debunk burnout? I know it sounds simple. You got to think about you. You have to think, and there's a lot in that. We could be on the call for the next 10 hours about that, but you got to think about you. We all get burnt out. Everybody. I don't care who you are. Everybody has gotten burnt out or will get burnt out. But burnout can be sustained, and it cannot exist. You have to ask yourself the famous Simon Sinek, why? Why am I doing what I'm doing? This, my manager asked me to work, your schedule's 40 hours a week. Your manager asks you to work 10 hours overtime. Okay. You already had 5 appointments scheduled for your son's baseball game or whatever. Who are you going to satisfy? Are you satisfying the boss? Are you satisfying the child? Can you integrate both? Can you work out something with both? Have you tried? A lot of times the burnout comes because you didn't even try. You said, oh, you tell the son no, so I got to go do these 10 extra hours. Did you even ask? Hey, I already got this schedule, boss, manager, person. Can I, do 30 minutes and then maybe leave? Have you started to speak up for yourself? That's where a lot of the burnout comes from. You're not talking for yourself, not speaking up for yourself. You're obligating yourself because you want to look good. You want to climb the corporate ladder. And everyone has their different reasons. Not saying everyone does this, but there's a reason why. So that normally that reason why is you want to climb the corporate ladder. You have bills to pay. Everyone has bills to pay. There's got to be a motive behind why you think you have to be the superhero. You have to be the person that does XYZ and shines, Is it part of your personality? Have you done the self-reflection? So a burnout, there's a lot involved in that. But we as a society cannot 100% blame burnout on leaders.
No.
The person
it's an individual.
The person has a huge part to play in that. And
when
when I start to feel that burnout, I step back and I say, okay, Marla, why? Is it, and we've all heard these, James. What are common questions we can ask ourselves? Is this going to matter 5 years from now? Or does it matter? Let me tell you how you can get irritated. You can get irritated scrolling on Facebook and commenting on people behind a glass screen you'll never meet, but you'll piss yourself off over stupid crap. That leads to burnout because now you're involved in the rat races, which is what social media wants you to do. Social media is a mind game. They're going to run your mind. So totally. you gotta do the self-reflection. That's what I really focus on a lot in my coaching is you gotta do the self-reflection. You are 100% responsible for you. No one else is. So if you're getting burnt out, you can't blame your boss for making you work. No one makes you do anything.
Right.
And I get it. We all got bills. I got bills, but no one's going to make me do anything. No job is going to work the hell out of me, work the bone to me, and work me down to the bone, and I see nothing for it. So I'll tell you this quick story.
Yeah.
One of my colleagues told me he saw this nurse on Instagram. She did a survey, and she surveyed, or she just asked 100 of her patients, and they were all like 80 and above. And she asked them, what's the one thing you regret? You know what the one thing that was? They said, it wasn't, I wanted to spend more time with family. That was number 2. The number 1 thing was, I wish I didn't work so hard and I didn't work so much. Because number 2, I didn't get a chance to see my family. And now my son, I just got a relationship now with my son. So nowadays, this is why you see the term, I'm not sure if you heard of this term, this term called the soft life. That's a new term out there.
I have not heard of that.
Yeah, the soft life is now just, what I need to remove. What's essential? Greg McEwen, the book Essentialism, excellent book.
Great book.
What's essential to me right now? Does it all matter? Do I really need these 6 figures? Can I? Why do you think people are running to tiny homes? Because they don't need the mansion. They just want peace. And COVID has really accelerated that. So you really got to ask yourself, what do you want to do? I just was talking to my cousin a little earlier today. Hey, I just want to run my businesses and travel. I'm a cruiser. I've been on 19 cruises. I got 20 through 25 booked. Just let me cruise and travel and run my businesses remotely. I have talked to people who run businesses from RVs, run businesses from hotels. They hop from hotel to hotel. Comedians. I've actually talked to a couple of comedians on these cruise ships. And I go up to them and I ask them, what are you doing? How do you do this? How do you like it? Because I like to know. I'm an IO psychologist. We like to understand behavior in the workplace. So I'm not afraid to go ask these questions. I talked on this last cruise I was on. I talked to this one guy. I just jumped from cruise ship to cruise ship. He said he goes home every now and then. He goes home to South Carolina every now and then, but he's retired military. He gets military pay. And don't get me wrong, everybody will not fall into this bucket, but you got to find your bucket.
Yeah.
Basically what he was trying to tell me is you can do what I'm doing. And so I'm going to get there. I'm going to be cruising every month. I'm going to be traveling somewhere every month with my laptop while I'm doing podcasts and stuff. You're gonna see the Lido deck.
There you go.
Right. So what I mean, if you get in these travel groups, people are traveling all over the world. They're cashing out their 401ks and they're traveling. You know, you have to do what is best for your mental health, because if you allow a job to kill you, they will.
And I guess the presumption there is that burnout is coming from a job. It
Yeah,
could be coming
or
from
what you have going on at home, or what,
yeah,
the spouse. You need to get divorced. I'm a fan of divorce. Go do it if you need to. I've been there twice. You know, right? If the spouse or the partner is driving you nuts, what are you doing? What are you doing here? I'm not here to be anybody's marriage counselor. I'm not.
right?
You know, but what is causing you stress? Go back to your why. What's going on? You really have to do the self-reflection. That's why I'm a huge fan of journaling. You'll see 30 gazillion journals around me. You know, I journal my thoughts. I get this down, you know? So I'm not saying, again, I'll say that again, I'm not saying go divorce, but this is why do you think so many people divorced after COVID? Because they didn't know their spouse.
Did it go up? I guess I hadn't heard that. I didn't delve into it, but
yeah. Not necessarily, but partnerships, relationships, went down the drain because they had to spend time with each other in the house.
oh, funny.
Yeah.
Normally I see you for an hour at night. Now I'm seeing you for 12 hours during the day.
It drove people crazy.
I can't stand you.
Yeah, go out there and just Google the statistics.
Interesting.
People went crazy.
All
because
right.
they're not taking the time to get to know each other, which is something you should be doing anyway, right? Yeah. So, but however, everyone's different. Everybody's different, right? But I say all that to say is, what is the it? So one of my mantras is keep it moving. That's my motivational phrase.
That's my phrase. I love it.
Yes, I have a t-shirt. I have a t-shirt.
Plate. Yeah.
Yes, I have a t-shirt on my website, right? So keep it moving. And whatever that it is, what is the it? Everybody, we all have the it. We all got the it, James. We may have 15 its, but what is the it? And what are you going to do about the it? And whether it's your relationship, whether it's your kids, I'm not saying get rid of your kids. I'm not saying that at all, you know, but what is it? A lot of the times it's the job. A lot of the times it is parents. I'm the caretaker for my dad. You know, I still have to work-life integrate that. I have to work-life integrate school. I have to work-life integrate my own son and my daughter-in-law and my family. You have to work like I have the same issues anybody else does, right? So, or same problems or same concerns anybody else does. Oh, Marla, it's so easy for you to say that. I'm a human being as well, just like you are. But I have to know that the word no is a complete sentence. And it's not my fault if you get upset that I said no, because I'm looking out for my well-being.
Yeah, there's opportunity cost if you would say yes. Likewise, if you said no. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, you have to look at each situation. Does it align with your goals? What you're aiming for? High up? Sure.
Yep. Exactly. So that to me, that is how we combat burnout, is starting with us and asking ourselves the why. And so many people, I've read so many blogs and research stuff on this over the COVID. People are like, you know what? This job really doesn't give a kook about me. I'm tired. You know what? I'm going to go Uber for the rest of my life. Oh, Uber. And I read so many articles about this. It's crazy. So many articles. This one lady I read, after Uber, she's like 56. She's like, you know what? I'm going to cash out my 401k and travel around the world for a year. Then I'll figure out what I want to do later. She's like, if I don't do it now, I'll never do it.
Right. Yeah. You can get hit by a bus at any time.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And I'm like, I've read, I was almost reading like a story like this a day, honestly, on just different news outlets, media outlets. It's people are, like I said, COVID fast forwarded that. So people are realizing, you know, burnout is, and look at the amount of books that have go to burnout, go to Amazon, see how many books are on burnout. Right.
So tell me a story though. Let's delve into this a little bit deeper, because I have had acquaintances, friends, definitely employees that felt they used the word overwhelm to a point that I'm just like, what? Because I'll give you a little bit of background just really quick here. I was in, where was I? I was in Ohio, where they have the, I don't even remember what town. Oh my gosh. Dayton, Ohio.
Dayton, okay.
Wright brothers had their bike shop there. Okay. So my dad used to live in South Carolina, pretty close to the, where the first flight happened. And so, and I love, flight is just amazing to me because I like to travel as well. And I like to learn, what am I on? How do we get here from there? I'm like, these guys had a bike shop, and in the early 1900s, thought it would be a great idea to come up with this invention that everybody thought they were crazy. Yet they traveled from Ohio to North Carolina. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Early 1900s, when cars weren't really a thing.
Yeah.
They're transporting this airplane. All the stars that had to align for them to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think right now I can travel from Ohio to North Carolina I can get my plane ticket on the internet in minutes.
It's fascinating.
I can run to the airport and I can make it happen. By later today, I can be in North Carolina.
Yeah.
If I really wanted an airplane, I could probably pay someone enough money and I'd have an airplane there too.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I'm like, we are standing on the shoulders of giants.
We are.
And to say that we're feeling overwhelmed, I'm just trying to think if I would call up Orville Wright and say, hey, Orville, I'm feeling a little burned out here. And he'll be like, tell me what you got going on. And I would tell him, and he's like, what? You have no problems.
Yeah.
You think you have problems, but you don't have problems.
Yeah.
So, but it's all a perspective issue. Yeah. Or a mindset, because we believe, or we're told, or we read the news. It's like, everybody get depressed. Everybody take your pill to fix your depression, and then keep staying depressed because we want you to feed the beast. Buy the crap so that you feel better for a moment, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like, do they really, friends, employees, whatever, do they really have problems, or is it just lack of awareness of how good they have it?
Oh my God, that is so good, James. I know we can't be on this thing for 10 hours.
Yeah, right.
That is so good. And that's so deep. And I've actually done the research on a couple through my dissertation stuff. And here's the thing about that. So obviously what the Wright brothers had back then, we don't have now. That's obvious, right? So you're right. So we ask those giants that we stand on, hey, this is what I went through. I'm overwhelmed. I 100% agree with you. They will look at us like we're fools. I think about, I watched the documentary on Madam C.J. Walker and how she rose to the top with her hair product, first Black female millionaire, so I 100% agree with that. But when we look at the times today, which is the issue, right? It's our perspective. What you just said is our perspective to the time today. I got my entrepreneurial tactics and methodologies when I was 6 years old. I used to color my pictures and sell them on the side of the street.
Oh, nice.
Strangers driving by. Can a 6-year-old do that right now?
No. Be a little weird, or it depends on the neighborhood.
Exactly. No, a 6-year-old cannot do that. Yeah. Without a predator, without the mom or dad thinking a predator is going to come up to them, because society has changed. So as we go through history, we've been programmed. So that's what history is. It's programming. That's when the great bubble came of the internet, that's when everything changed. Oh, I can get the internet to do it. And social media. I just mentioned it earlier. Social media is meant to be psychological. That's all they're doing. Facebook, Google, these companies are mega billion-dollar companies, right? But their one goal, and I'm not trying to be negative here, but their one goal is to get you to do what they want. It's an algorithm. Right? It's an algorithm. So some people get that, but Gen Z and millennials don't get that most of the time. So now they're overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed because the TikTok video. Oh my God. Let me say this. The TikTok video that they watched sent them down the spiral. And like, oh my gosh, now I got to get therapy. And nothing against that. I'm a big fan of therapists. But again, what you put into your eyes and ears matters. So I'm going to use this as a prime example. I was doing a event, and this one young lady, she was a teenager. I work with teenagers at my nonprofit. Sweet young girl. She had to use the restroom. We were both in the restroom. She used the restroom, flushed the toilet. She's like 15, 16 years old. The toilet went flush. Do you know how upset she was? She was so upset the toilet went flush because she thought it was her fault.
Oh, wow.
She thought it was her fault. I said, I'm just going to say Susie, it's a toilet. Toilets are man-made, just like everything else is. And
there's a mechanical thing there.
And sometimes they break, and it's okay. Just because you use the restroom, something that humans do. Because if you don't, I'm gonna be concerned, right?
Yeah, right. We got a problem then.
So I had to literally calm her down. And the first thing I thought about, because of me, psychology, first thing I thought about, what's going on? Something's going on. Is it at home? Is it at school? Who told her something's wrong with her all the time? Is it social media? I don't know. I didn't dig. I wasn't trying to be her psychologist that day. All I could do was just walk in her shoes and empathize with her at that moment and tell her everything. It wasn't her fault. But I thought in the back of my mind, what is she watching, or what is she listening to that's telling her everything she's doing in life is wrong? So I go back to say that back then, overall, the Wright brothers didn't have that. All they had was
probably not a ton of indoor plumbing in 1904, I suppose.
Exactly. We have right now, these kids and adults, we have access to everything. Everything. These kids, they don't know what going outside and playing is. I just love going outside and playing. So what? They want to go outside and play? What? I have not to this day saved the princess on Super Mario Brothers. That's because all I had. We had Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt. That's all I had.
Oh yeah.
Right. Right. And it was, I had a blast, but these kids don't know what that is. So we have to fashion. That's where their mindsets are. We have to fashion to and mold ourselves to what's going on in their world. And that's where the overwhelm comes from, because they do have so much. They have social media. They still got the school. They still got the jobs. They still have all this stuff that they have to meld their minds to. So that's where the overwhelm is coming from. But who controls the overwhelm?
Individuals do.
You do, your mindset. So, and that is the hardest part, is getting people to go back to what I just said, self-awareness. Who controls you scrolling on TikTok and Facebook? Who controls you doing individual? Who controls you doing these dumb challenges? I was watching, oh my gosh, I was watching one of these little court shows or something a couple of days ago, and this grown man was doing a challenge where you put sugar on a spoon and you swallow the sugar. It was some type of challenge. I don't know. I'm like, and he said he almost choked and died and no one was helping him. I thought to myself, he's this grown man. I love
how the responsibility moved from him to like, hey, how come nobody's
me? And he's this man's like, maybe he had been like his 40s and 50s, and he was on court suing somebody. And I thought to myself, we've come a long ways, but we have a long ways to go. Because again, the psychology behind me, I'm thinking, what in this man's life is missing to where he had to go on TikTok and challenge himself in front of a whole bunch of kids, to show off in front of some kids to swallow. The kids weren't even doing it. I would say
real problems are missing in his life.
Yeah.
He needed to find something, create a problem of some kind.
Something
he had
to do.
Is what it took.
There was something void, something going on, to where he thought he could just swallow a spoonful of sugar and be okay.
What if that guy had just been diagnosed with cancer the day before?
Yeah.
Would he be on TikTok eating a spoonful of sugar?
Right.
If he had lost his job, lost his spouse,
right,
kid got a boo-boo on their knee.
Right.
Like he had to create a problem.
Right.
And subconsciously or consciously.
Right. Exactly. And I thought to myself, like, okay, there's a void. There's something going on. And there's always, and this is, as a leaders have to recognize this. There's always something else beneath the surface. If your employees are acting a certain way, like the cat situation, there's something else going on. There's always another issue. There's always an issue beneath the surface. So I say all that to say is, we live in a very privileged society.
Extremely.
The United States has always been privileged, but we live in a very privileged society, and it's only getting more privileged because AI is going to rock us off our feet.
Yeah.
Right. It already is.
Everywhere we go.
It already is. So if you don't catch up to this privilege and become more and more self-aware, you have to know that social media is not going to run my life. You have to know that somebody else is not going to run my life. You have to know that. Right. I could literally, if I was so addicted to social media, I could literally pick up my phone right now and go on Facebook right now and start. But what did I do before I got on this call? I cut my phone off. So it wouldn't ring, so it won't bing, so it won't, because I don't let social media run me. Right. So, but again, that takes self-awareness. I'm not saying I haven't mastered, by no means.
No one does, but
no one does. But you got to recognize.
But I guess when it comes to the keep it moving, that's progress towards growth.
Keep it. How are you moving forward? Right. What boundaries are you putting on yourself? So you
just think of someone on their deathbed saying, if only I scrolled social media more.
Yeah, no, they're not going to say that.
No,
right. And again, it's a screen.
Right.
It's a screen. You're never going to meet these people, but you're allowing yourself to get bullied social media bullying is real. It's
Oh
real.
yeah. Oh yeah.
You're allowing yourself to get bullied. All you have to do is, and I've read it all the time. If you don't like the comment, keep scrolling.
Mm-hmm.
A funny thing on the rapper Ice-T. I saw this on Twitter. Apparently, his wife had put on something or whatever. 50,000 people commented on something she had on. Well, she's dressed that way. Who cares? Who cares? And he said, you know what? You don't have to comment. And in fact, you can just delete me. Why are you following me? And it's so true. Why do we feel we need to comment? That adds stress. Do you know that adds stress to you when you sit there and comment? You're mad on what other people are doing. And I was just talking about this in another podcast. I said we care about the wrong things. I don't give a flying poop what.
Right.
Why do I care about that? Why do I care that another man wants to be married to another man? I don't care. I do not care about that. But these small things.
Mm-hmm.
This is that a lot of that causes the burnout, causes the stress. Because then you go to work and you talk about it, and then you forget to do your job. Now your production fails because you're worried about what happened on social media. You're worried about,
So
the
that
wrong
reminds me of when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock.
Woo! Right.
And my buddy's like, oh my gosh, what do you think of that? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I don't know what's crazier, the fact that you don't know what to think of it, or the fact that you didn't even know that slap existed.
It even existed.
I don't pay attention to any of that. So I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
And I was like, people still watch. Was it the Oscars, Emmys? I don't know.
Yeah, it was Oscars.
And I'm like, I didn't even know that was still a thing.
Yeah.
I just don't pay attention to that and have I don't want to take time in my life.
Yeah.
Who cares? Who cares?
That's self-awareness. And I'll tell you a funny story about I actually was watching it that night, and I was sitting in my bed watching the Oscars, and I literally thought it was when I first saw it, I think everyone else thought it was part of a script or something.
Staged, I
didn't think it was. I said, is this real? I said, this. I'm like,
we got to get more people to know that the Oscars exist.
Right.
So we need some drama.
Right. I'm like, did the Oscars do this so they can get ratings? I really was thinking like but it was real. We found out it was real or whatever. So, Will Smith lost deals for that. He lost movie deals. He lost all this stuff. And of course, people commented on Facebook or whatever. Personally, I thought it was a little tasteless. I thought it was tasteless. Why are we slapping people on TV? It's ridiculous. At the same time, going back to what you just said, I didn't lose any sleep that night. Because Will Smith or Chris Rock aren't paying any of my bills. Right. So
the interesting thing is, think of how many comments alone, the number of comments that were triggered by that event.
Oh yeah.
You're talking billions
and
trillions.
That put the Oscars on the map. So the Oscars, they're leveraging that. If I would.
No such thing as bad publicity, right?
Right. They're leveraging that publicity. Why not? Why not? Matter of fact, the Oscars people are like, you know what? Go to everybody's Facebook and hit like on their Facebook pages. The Oscar folks, trust me, they used it. I mean, why not? I would have.
Yeah.
Weird.
Savage. Not necessarily making the world a better place.
Nope.
But they're making a buck, so whatever.
But they're making a buck, so that's what they would have done. Right. Yeah. So I mean, so you can't get mad at the Oscars, right? Because that's exactly what they did. But because guess what society likes to do, especially Western culture, we thrive on the negative.
Oh yeah.
We thrive on it.
Mm-hmm.
We thrive on it. How long are we going to talk about someone doing good? Maybe a day. Right. But how long are we going to talk about someone doing bad? Oh my God, for the next 20 years.
Yeah, it's interesting. That reminds me of that the Nike movie Air.
Mm-hmm. I haven't seen that yet. I want to see it.
Great movie. Movie. There's a speech that Matt Damon's character has when Michael Jordan and his family are in the room that essentially says you're going to be great, but the society is going to build you up better than you are. Yep. Just so that they can tear you down.
Yep.
And it's like,
and boy, did they
get a lot of famous people, and that's the story again and again and again.
Yeah, and it's funny. That's crazy with that because what happened? He was the greatest basketball player on the planet, right? But he had a gambling problem. He's not great anymore. Oh, he divorced his wife, Juanita. He had to give her all this money. He's not a good husband anymore. Oh, he's married to this cute little young white girl. Oh, we don't like him anymore. Yeah, but again, people, and I say this a lot. Do we not remember that public figures, superstars, celebrities, they're human beings as well.
Mm-hmm.
The
And
human
why do
being
we
as well.
care? Why do we care?
And they're going to go through the same, just because they're seeing at a different level. I never forget the words of the smart Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne said, he's like, yeah, I'm a public figure, but I am not a role model. He said, so if you don't want your kids to listen to my music, then make sure they don't listen to my music. So I'm not going to stop being who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I respected that he said that. Because this is it. Because when his music first came out, parents were like, I can't believe he's saying all that. Blah, 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 da, da, da. Well, what listen to it? Why who bought the music?
I would challenge that and say, if you are a public figure, you are a role model, whether you want to be or not. Someone's looking up to you.
I agree.
Because in order for you to have an audience where you're famous, someone's going to admire you. So therefore, you're a role model. Good one or bad one.
Good one or bad one. And I agree with, and I do agree with, but I agree with what he said at that time. This is when he first came out, right? So he's obviously morphed and developed and changed because he has his own grown children now. But I agree with it at that time, because at that time, this was before CD. This is during the CD realm, when CDs.
Oh, way back when. Okay.
Yeah, this was CDs. So this is before the iPod, right? And I agreed at that time, because who's buying the CDs? Kids weren't old enough to go buy CDs. Who the parents were buying it, but the parents were one complaining because they were the ones, So I agree with that time, but I do agree with what you said about the role model piece. You're right, because when you become a public figure, that is something you take on, whether you're a celebrity or not. You take on the burden of being in the public eye, and people will forget, like we just mentioned with Michael Jordan. People will forget that you're a human being, and they will tear you down, right? That they'll tear you down. So you do have to remember that. At the same time, though, I do have to challenge the fact that humans, we still got to remember these people are human.
Mm-hmm.
They're a public figure because they're a public figure, but I'm not going to worship them.
No.
I'm not going to be surprised. Now, yes, was it tasteless that Will Smith slapped him? Of course, that was tasteless. You shouldn't slap anybody, let alone on international TV, let alone on Oscars, But I'm not going to put it past him, because he's human and he's maybe has marital issues and a lot's going on in his life. I don't know, but I'm not going to put past nothing surprises me with people.
It's interesting. We were at a Major League Baseball game, yesterday, and all these kids and adults, I guess my son included, were excited to get a little baseball signed, jersey signed, whatever. And me, I'm just like, this is just a dude that's his job is to throw a ball or to catch a ball or to hit a ball. That's his job, right?
Yeah.
Same thing that 12-year-olds are doing all day long here. And if he went away, there's a line of thousands of people that would be more than willing to take his place for a quarter of the price.
Of course.
So I'm like, why are people so excited to get this guy's signature?
Yeah. I think
it made me think, as I'm just watching this, I'm wondering, what is the guy in the dugout that's actually giving the signatures? What is he thinking? Is he thinking like, I just like to play the game of baseball, or I'm happy I'm making a few $1 million, or what is his perspective? It was just, it's a weird dynamic when I see stuff like that, where people are putting other people on pedestals for something that, and it was interesting to me because we were in Ohio, and we go to the Air Force Museum, where they have the SR-71 Blackbird, they got the stealth bomber, they have space shuttle things, like went to the moon, all this stuff that crazy amounts of technology, engineering, math, science, all this stuff went into to make happen. My kid was bored to tears there. And I'm like, you want to get your baseball signed by some clown that's good at catching a ball, yet you see something that went to the moon and you're bored? Oh my God, what did I do as a parent?
Not fascinating him. Let's break that down just a little bit here. I know we don't have a lot of time, but it's interesting you brought that up, because you're right. So example, I'm gonna give a prime example of myself. So this weekend I'm going to see Beyonce. This will be my third time.
Oh, nice.
This has been my third time seeing her in person. So I call myself, I'm in the Beehive. Her fan base is the Beehive. So I'm in the Beehive. All right. But I always say I'm a fan of Beyonce. I'm a fan of a lot of folks, but I don't look at Beyonce as anything but a human being. She has a talent. She knows how to monetize on her talent. She knows how to do what she does well. And I respect that in any human being, not just her. but you will not see me at the church in California that's named Beyonce. I'm not gonna build a church behind her.
Wow.
I'm not going to I'm not going to pay to, like I saw last night. I promise you, I saw last night, and no shade here thrown, but I saw last night on Facebook, this one lady, she quit her job because she couldn't get PTO to go to the concert, so she quit her job.
Wow.
I'm not going to not take a coaching client because I, because I'm going to Beyonce concert. Wow. I mean, so again, that me and my brain, there's something else going on there. There's something else going on, because if you're putting that person that high on a pedestal, because don't get me wrong, we are like somebody. I like tons of singers. Beyonce's not the only one. I mean, I'm fans of many singers. I'm fans of many restaurants. But nothing's gonna be better than me. Marla has to love Marla first. I gotta love me first, and I'm not gonna put myself in jeopardy of being a fan or a groupie just so I can be stomped on or pushed in a crowd or whatever. So again, that stuff is exciting to people. Don't get me wrong. Exactly. Here's another prime example. I'm a season ticket holder for the Jaguars. Go Jags. Okay. And we were at the practice the other day. Long line to get your ball signed or whatever. Number one, nothing against that, but I was about to stand in that line. It was hot as poo-poo out there. I'm about to stand in that line. So, but would I stand in line if it was a little bit cooler? Maybe. If it was shorter, maybe. Wouldn't mind having a football signed by Trevor Lawrence. I wouldn't mind having that. But again, going back to what we said, I'm gonna weigh the costs. Am I gonna be hot? Am I gonna pass out? Is it worth it? Can I get it signed one day? Can I go to an auction? I'm gonna weigh out the auction, the opportunity cost here. So again, everyone has their thing. I get it. Everyone has their thing because that's what makes them feel united. So
right. They want to belong to a group. You got it right there. They want to belong to a group.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone. And that is life. That is life. We all want to be a part of the beehive. We all want to be a part of the fan group that likes the baseball player. We all want to be a part of the group that loves that loves Trevor Lawrence. Like, I am in literally probably 120 plus Facebook groups because I have that many likes. Now, am I in all of them? Am I active in all of them? No, but I'm in them. Right. And I'm in car groups. I'm in American Express groups. I'm in writing groups. I'm in blogging groups. I'm an entrepreneur. Because I have so many likes. So we all got to be a part of something. So I don't think anything's wrong with that. Actually, I think that helps with our mental health. Actually, is to we all want to belong, right? That helps. But going to what you said about your son being bored at the Air Force Museum. Just listen to you say that, I got excited. I'm like, well, I would love to go see that.
My gosh, it's amazing.
A lot of people don't care about history. I'm not talking about just your son. Adults don't care about history. Like a lot of people ask me, like, what do you do every time you go cruises and you go to Bahamas? Well, I get off the boat and sometimes I take a tour. Last time I got off the ship, they built a new museum in Nassau called the Junkanoo Museum, which is the history of how they celebrated the Bahamians celebrated their freedom. That was interesting to me. I wanted to learn. Because some people are like, well, I wouldn't have to go and do anything. Okay, well, that's you. So everyone has to find their nick and their knack of what they want. And like I said, I would go. I think I would love the history of the Air Force stuff. But your 12-year-old, he's gonna be bored because that's just not an interest of his, right? And so you got to.
I think he. I don't think he's aware. Like World War I, World War II, doesn't even know they existed.
Vietnam, like, what is that?
Berlin Wall. Doesn't even know they existed.
Berlin who? What is Berlin?
Like he has no.
He has no clue.
No,
he doesn't even know the
but he could tell you
Berlin
the pictures, the top pitchers in MLB. And I try to tell him, I'm like, buddy, that's information that is important to you and your group this year, maybe even the next 5 years. Yeah. But in 6-10 years, that's going to be old news. Where the stuff at this museum is important because it's relevant, because you can see chronologically what has happened with our society. Right. Exactly. I mean, there's the flight, plane's cool, but why did they build that jet? Right. Why is going to the moon a big deal? Why was it a big deal to build a big spy plane? Why was it a big deal to build these fighter planes for World War II?
Right.
Like the technology, the engineering, that's impressive, that's cool, but why?
Right.
Where the
Exactly.
baseball thing, they're just playing a game.
Yeah.
Just for fun. It's entertainment.
Yeah. And it's interesting on that too. I'll challenge you on that one too, James, is these kids, again, kind of going back to coaching, we got to coach them where they're at.
Fair. Totally fair.
We got to coach them where they're at. And so I would challenge your son, and yeah, you think it's just a game, but he thinks it's the best thing since cheesecake pie, right? So I would challenge him on it and say, you know what is the history of baseball? Because baseball has a history. What is the history of baseball? Well, what is the timeline? The same timeline you saw. What is the timeline behind baseball? What are we learning? Who are the major players? Has he watched some of the baseball players from the past? What have they done? Who was Lou Gehrig? Why do we have a disease named after him? So what, I would challenge him to do the research and do the history on the things that he likes and dig deep, not just the superstars right now that he can get an autograph from. But what about the baseball players of the 1800s?
To be fair, he has dug into that because I told him, you got to look. I told him, I remember telling him to look at the history of the baseball glove, the mitt.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, what you got right now is pretty good to catch, but look at one from the early 1900s and tell me if you could catch a ball just as easily then as you could now.
Yeah.
Because when you're looking at statistics, today versus 50 years ago, is it apples to apples?
No. So
the home runs back then, look at the average size of a baseball player then versus average size now. Is it apples to apples?
Yeah, and I always tell, that's what I used to tell my son all the time when he was coming with new ideas of what he wanted to do. Did you research it? It's the first thing I say. Did you research it? Look it up. What's the history? What's the past of it? What's going on with it? I'm not saying for you to be a research genius behind it and know every fact, but do a little bit more digging to find out if this is really what you want to do. And what's the why behind it? What's the why? You just never know. I mean, whatever that passion is, I believe that passion stays in you. It just morphs in different ways as you get older in life. And again, what you put in front of your eyes and what you put in front of your ears is going to matter. It's going to change that philosophy. So that's what I would challenge for him to continue to do, is to continue to look at those histories. And you never know, maybe he'll be a baseball historian. There's people who get paid doing that.
He's hoping to be a baseball player.
Okay, maybe he'll be a baseball. Maybe. Who knows? I mean,
we'll see. Who knows?
Those sports aren't going anywhere.
Who knows? He's a young kid, so a lot can change between now.
A lot will change.
Well, Marla, we got to wrap it up here. I appreciate you being on the show. Tell me, how can people find you?
Oh, thank you so much. So my website is www.truthspeakscoaching.com. Again, the business is Truth Speaks Group, but it's truthspeakscoaching.com. I have books on Amazon. Again, my book is the ultimate brag book, 100 questions about how awesome you are. Then I have 52 career tips, action steps to move you forward. My name is Marla J. Alberti. If you Google that or put that in the search bar on Amazon, both of my books will come up. My nonprofit, IO for Teens, the letter O, FORTEENS.org, is the study of workplace behavior. So we're just teaching teenagers how to behave in the workplace and how to have life skills.
Nice.
So how to move forward in life. So please, that's those are my sites.
Very cool. Marla, I appreciate you being on the show.
Instagram, LinkedIn. My name's on Marla J. Alberti is on LinkedIn. Instagram is T Speaks Group on Instagram. T Speaks Group on Instagram.
T Speaks Group. Okay, got it. Super cool.
Yes.
This has been Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land.
Yes.
We're locally underwritten by the Bank of Sun Prairie. If you're listening to this on the web, you could do us a huge favor. Give it the big old thumbs up, subscribe, and of course, comment below and let Marla know what's going on with your workplace, your mindset, all that jazz.
Yes.
As well
let me know. Please.
Sharing it with your entrepreneurial friends. My name is James Cademan, and Authentic Business Adventures is brought to you by Calls on Call, offering call answering and receptionist services for service businesses across the country on the web at callsoncall.com, as well as the Bold Business Book, a book for the entrepreneur in all of us, available wherever fine books are sold. We'd like to thank you, our wonderful listeners, as well as our guest, Marla Albertie. the founder of Truth Speaks Group. Marla, can you tell us that website one more time?
www.truthspeakscoaching.com.
Awesome. Past episodes can be found morning, noon, and night. The podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. Thank you for listening. We will see you next week. I want you to stay awesome. And if you do nothing else, enjoy your business.
Yes. Bye, everyone.